Hello, I'm Matt, and welcome back again to my HTML tutorials, and I believe this is part 5 that I'm doing right now. And so I'm here to teach you more about CSS, which I left off in the last video. And in the last video, I was going to teach you about some things that I'm going to teach in this video now, because I ran out of time last time. So, say that you have an image that you want to put for your background. And in our CSS code, let's put in background image, which is this new CSS command that puts in an image. And so we'll put in the function URL and then image.png, which is a beautiful background image that I've created for our web page. Isn't it lovely? Yes, it's quite an atrocious background image, but it's a good example. So, if you just put in the background image with no other code, which I'm going to start mentioning in about a minute, you see that it repeats itself all over the page. Now, say that you just wanted to repeat it in one direction. You'd use background repeat, the background repeat function, command, whichever you like to call it. And then we can put in repeat x-x, which displays it along the top of the web page in one direction on the x-axis of the web page of the screen. Or it can put in repeat y, which repeats it along the side of the page. Now that's how you put in your background image, and you can have almost any background image you want. And so, then another thing that I want to teach you about is the class attribute, and it can be applied to almost any tag. So let's put in I called the div tag div class equals special. So if we save that, let's look at our page. Nothing. Only we removed our background from the code that we took out. There's nothing there. What's going on, you might ask? Well, here's what's going on, is that we haven't defined the class yet. And so let's put in div-dot-special. And so this dot will register a new class to use on all of this. And so there's also something called an ID, which I might get to later in this video. And so what it is that and so inside here, anything that uses the class special will conform to the CSS inside this block of code here. And so let's put in, let's see, font size is 50 pixels. Let's say the width of the text is only 10 pixels. So control save. So that means it'll make 50 pixel text, but since it's 50 pixels tall and so many pixels wide, it can't conform to our 100 pixel or 10 pixel limit. So let's make it 5 pixel. Make each character 5 pixels. And if you refresh, you see that hello and world are on 2 different lines, and I didn't even have to use a break tag. And so that's what you do if you want to, like, maybe make a poem. So let's remove our font size. Make the width 100 pixels. Control save. And refresh. It's hello there. Now, hey, let's put it on this big paragraph of text right here. And so we just put in class, the paragraph class equals special. And then if I stop making typos, I can get through the video. And so, wait, nothing happened. Well, that's because we defined a class for use inside the div element, the div element. See right there? And so if we want to define it for the paragraph element, we put in p.special, and see it, put it in, and it'd be 100 pixels wide, and it'd put all of it on different lines. But then it doesn't work with this anymore. And so if we want our class to work with every tag, every single tag that we use it with, we just put a dot special. And so even though you can't see it, if this hello there text were longer, it'd wrap on it. It would wrap. It's called word wrapping onto the next line. And so the classes can work with almost anything. So say we wanted to make another class dot sample, and wanted it to have a background color of blue. We'd use, instead of span style, we'd use span class equals sample. And if we save that, then we refresh, we see that included isn't a larger size anymore, and that it's highlighted in blue. And so that's basically, that's basically how it works. Now, say that we didn't want to use class, and class was, maybe we were a little lazy and we don't want to use the class attribute every time. So an alternative to class is an ID, which is identifier or identification. And so for an ID, you use the number sign. You know, shift and then the number 3 on your keyboard. And so if we do that, let's say free credit report. I don't know, I'm running out of names. You're welcome, though, freecreditreport.com and all those other sites for free advertising. Let's say we wanted to make the font size, I don't know, 115%. And then the color would be green. And then the background color would be black. And so we don't have anything with that special ID yet, so let's put in a div tag, and then ID equals free credit report. Then we have to remember to close our tag /div, and when we save that and we refresh, we see that this isn't limited by the 100 pixel width anymore, because it's a style within a style. And so the one that's mentioned the most recently cancels the older ones out. And so we have our font color and all that. And so, you know, we have our, so basically I've covered most of what we need for simple and into a little bit of advanced CSS. So now you can go and style your pages. You can use padding, and then you can use width, and then I don't know if you have height, but I don't know if height works with this. It might only work with images. I'm not so sure about text. But now you can use font size and color and background color, and then background image. Now I'm just experimenting here. Image.png, because I've never tried it on a single element before. Oh, and look, there's our very, very atrocious, loud, yeah, I like to say loud. I'd like to Yeah, that's a good word for loud background. Maybe if we change the color, or if we use the text dash decoration, and then we went, and then the text decoration command, and then we said bold. Oh, it should. Oh well, you can use the bold tag. There's a text decoration element. I don't really know what the commands within it are, but if you can experiment around with that. And also something I'd like to mention is if I'm not giving you enough information, if I'm not explaining it right, or something goes wrong, what you can do is you can go to http://www.w3schools.com/css or http://www.w3schools.com/html to view their CSS and HTML tutorials. And so right here is their CSS tutorial, and you see it's all the stuff that I've talked about, and there's also the reference, and also all these web design tutorials, and they too have HTML tutorials only written out for people who are auditory learners, or I mean visual learners, which means they learn by reading. And then my videos are more for auditory and visual learners who they need to hear things to learn. So I'm Matt, and I'll see you in the next video when I talk about having a separate CSS file and then also linking that to the HTML document. And then I'll get into a little bit of JavaScript, which is dynamic scripting for the web browser, and also the meta tag, which I mentioned in one of our earlier videos, where we had to give ourselves a content type and all that. Content type. And so I'll mention that, and I'll also mention a little bit about search engine optimization, which I'll explain more in the video, of course, what it means. So I'm Matt, and I'll see you in the next video on HTML.